So greetings once again, everybody. Great to see you all this morning in this very room, or if you're online, I have to remember where to look. If you're online, welcome. Good to see you all, or if you're watching later, we're glad you are with us. So my topic for this morning is a little different from the one. If you get Reverend Dr. Suzette's texts, you might remember soft and supple and something. So with all love and respect, the Centers for Spiritual Living, or CSL, gives us suggested topics throughout the year. And the good news is that we speakers at OHM have the opportunity to either say, yes, that resonates for me, that's what I'm going to talk about, or that totally does not wag my tail and I'm going to go in a different direction. So that's what happened for this morning. So rather than that, my topic, for this morning is preparing for the new year, put down the hammer. Now you're thinking, oh, where's he going with that, right? Yeah. So stick around. I will make this make sense. So what is today? So in 17 days, give or take, it's going to be 2026. I don't know about you, but my experience, and I bet yours has been, what a year. Wow, it has been a year. Don't tell anybody, but I was on Amazon's app last night because I was looking at what am I doing in 2026, and I'm from the old school. I have the 8.5 by 11 month at a glance calendar book. I want it because I do it on my phone, and that's really wonderful, but I want a second check, and I want to write it down, and in pencil. Some of us still use pencils, that I can erase it and move it if I need to. So I'm looking, and the 2025 book only has 3 months. So it's time to order a new month at a glance book because it's a brand new year. Amazing. So my question for us is, as we prepare for the December holidays, and that's wonderful, and Hanukkah and Christmas and Kwanzaa and all the rest of that, but what are we taking with us into the new year? You might remember this passage from the Bible in Psalms 23, verse 4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And I would suggest that there's another version of that, and I don't know who first came up with it. It wasn't me, but it really resonates for me this morning. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I need not stop and build a condo. Now think about so the shadow of death, and of course back in the days when they wrote the Psalms, we're talking Goliath. You know, the huge giant. We're talking bands of marauding soldiers. We're talking disease. We're talking terrible things. In 2025, ideally not so much. But the valley of the shadow of death could be that situation in our lives that we have no idea how it's going to play out. We have no idea how we're going to solve it. We have no idea. It's scary. That might be with our finances. It might be with our physical health. It might be in our relationships. Just those things, not, the day-to-day, I can't find a parking place at Costco. We're talking serious, I don't know what to do. Yes. Or you get to fill in the blank, but just a major, oh my God, no pun intended, I don't know what to do about that. Or those people. Do you have those people in your life? That's such an interesting expression, because what my interpretation of that is, there's us. There's me. And there's those people who look differently, I think, look different, act different, talk different, think different, love different, live different, are those people. And sometimes I would suggest those people are in the category of the people in our inner circle. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you did that and hurt my heart. And it might have been something that happened in September, or it might have been something that happened in September of 1999. So my question for us is, what are we carrying with us into the new year? Because consider, as we're walking through the valley of the shadow of death, the opportunity is to keep walking rather than stopping to build the condo. And I'll talk more about that. Because this thing called life, I know you'll agree with me, it's just the most amazing thing. And we have these experiences, and how cool is that? And that's so exciting. And then we have those experiences that can bring us resentment and regret and anger and hurt and all of those things. But my very most favorite quote from Course in Miracles says, I could see peace instead of this. I could see peace instead of this. It's been a wild year. So think about how we build a condo or a townhouse or whatever you want to say, but go with me on this if you would, on the condo. So we pour the foundation first. The truth of us, our foundation is that we are the beloved. We are the expression, we are the essence, expression, and experience of spirit. There is nothing that has ever happened, ever could happen, ever will happen that will change that. But how often do we cover that foundation with a nice rug? And one of my favorite books is The Trance of Scarcity by Victoria Castle. And she talks about this experience of having this covering over our foundation or the truth of our being. She writes, imagine that when you moved into your first apartment, you inherited a rug that has been in your family for years or decades. Since that day, you've brought it with you to every place you've lived for the last 20 plus years. The rug is so familiar that you don't even see it anymore. It's not really part of the decor. It's just always been part of your surroundings. But one day you move to a house filled with light and you see that the rug is really worn out and doesn't look so great anymore. It's been with you for a very long time, but the time has come to replace it with one that befits your fresh, new habitat. So that rug, that coffee stain over in the corner, that red wine stain, that little bit of a tear over in the corner on that rug, which translates, of course, to what happened. What happened in our lives earlier this morning or last year or 20 years ago that covers up the truth of our being. Those old beliefs about who we are, about our money, about other people, about relationships, all cover up. That's all part of that rug that cover up the foundation, which is the truth of our being. But at any point, we can pull that rug up and get a new one that reflects the truth of who we are now. A new rug. And as we know, because what we focus on expands, if we're focusing on the coffee stain and the red wine stain and the rip in the or no, it's not a rip, it's a tear. You get to decide. The whatever it is on that rug, we get more of those. So the good news is at any point we can say, boy, that was a strange experience and I'm not carrying that with me, and we move forward. The stains on our rug can also be our story. I always, I never, they always, they never. They really hurt my feelings when. But at any point, we can go back and change the story. And I'll talk more about that. Because if we're not willing to look at the stains on the rug and ideally learn the lessons, do the forgiveness work, and I'll talk more about that, and move forward, we've got the foundation and we're putting up the wall. We've got our hammer and we're putting the framing, we're putting the drywall, we're putting the stucco in, we're putting the roof on, and here we are in this structure in the valley of the shadow of death. But the good news is we're just renting. So we can just pack up what we need to pack up, leave it, and keep walking into the next wonderful experiences in our lives. Because stuff, using a purely metaphysical term and one that is pulpit worthy, happens. It does. I have to tell you what was a shock, and you might have heard me talk about this before, found this teaching, and wow, Lucille and I were talking about how long we've been friends. 33 years. So, and when we found this teaching, it was just the greatest thing because, oh boy, my relationships are going to work. My money's going to work. I'm going to hit all the lights green. Life is going to be wonderful. Right? Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. So we're still living this amazing and wonderful and delicious and luscious and oh my goodness thing called life, but we're allowing ourselves earlier on to look at it and say, is this how I want to respond to this? Does this really serve me? Is this really the truth of me, or can I change the story? The difference is how I'm viewing it, how I'm reacting or responding to it, and how long I'm carrying it with me. Somebody said it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And that, as we know, that's amazing wisdom because we can choose. So many people are really concerned and upset about AI, artificial intelligence. And I get it, but I'm finding it's like Google on steroids. So I'm thinking about this, and so I type it in and I get all this really cool information. And so I was thinking about this experience of not getting upset about that, of not taking that personally, of not creating the story and stopping to build a condo in hell, or the valley. It's okay, I can say that. I think I can. And so one of the things that came up for me, is the concept of being stoic or stoicism. Recognizing what you can and cannot control, determining our reaction, just ignoring people dominated by their own negative emotions, and mastering ourselves and deciding, am I going to get upset about this, and is the story that I'm telling myself really the truth? Earlier this week, and I wasn't going to share this, but I am. Earlier this week, the Regional Task Force on the Homeless had a 2-day conference. Amazing event with organizations throughout San Diego County attending and learning and doing workshops and so forth. And as most of you know, probably ad nauseum, I work with an organization that provides housing for homeless youth. And so many of our staff members attended this conference. I did not. And I thought, because, ego, my ego, which stands, Wayne Dyer said stands for edging God out, said, well, they didn't invite. How come you're not going? You should be going. And then, Spirit, if we allow it to, gets a word in edgewise and says, well, maybe, but look at all the other things you had on your calendar already for those 2 days. Well, yeah. You don't really, I work with the youth, but I don't work with specifically with the programs, so maybe it wasn't appropriate for me to go. Well, yeah. And maybe you don't have to take it personally. What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. How often do we see a situation and then and how often do I see a situation and create this story about it, hire the actors, write the script, the movie goes in the can, all about these assumptions and these taking things personally that contributes, I would suggest, to that condo in the Valley of the Shadow of Death, unless and until still small voice gets a word in edgewise and says, well, look at that again. There's another way to look at that. Because we don't know. So often something happens with someone in our lives and we see what happens and we assume. You know what assume does. And if you don't remember what that means, see me later after the service and I'll remind you. But how many assumptions do we carry with us that contribute to that's a second floor on the condo in the Valley of the Shadow of Death because it's not true anyway. Interesting. So just a gentle reminder. So I have the power to choose my response to whatever it is. It's been a year. And many of you know the story about my dog, my golden retriever, Maggie, she tore her ACL in her back left leg and had to have surgery in January. And I'm like, oh my God, no pun intended. What do I do? How do I take care of her? I live in a townhouse and all I have is stairs. So you got stairs to get up from the street, stairs to get up from the garage, stairs to get from the living room to the dining room, to the upstairs, to all of that. How in the world? And the still small voice said, don't need to figure that out right now. So to make a long story even longer, she's doing very, very well. She now lives in the living room. So she doesn't have to go up any stairs. Her comforter is there. Her bed is there. Her food and water is there. She is happy as she can possibly be. She sleeps on the couch. She sleeps anywhere she wants to, basically. And it just went fine. And so I so love to write a talk to share with you because whenever I'm talking with you, I am always talking with myself. And so the wisdom and the insights I get are so amazing. So look back at this year. So there was that. And then there was the situation. I had a family member who hadn't worked outside the home full-time supporting themselves in a really long time. And I did my treatment work. You know, sometimes we have to buy what we're selling. I did my spiritual mind treatment, my affirmative prayer, and I absolutely know, and I accept this, and so it is, but it wasn't. And so it is, but it wasn't. So what's going on here? What's going on here that this isn't moving for me? Quoting Edwene Gaines, what must I change about myself in order to receive this, to move this forward, to knock this loose? So, and I might have shared this before, but you've slept since then, so bear with me. Was at the Affiliated New Thought Network retreat in outside of Kansas City in October, and my workshop is next, and I don't have anything to do, so I'll go to the room where I'm going to be doing my workshop next, and the workshop was on forgiveness. Well, yeah, I know, and yeah, I've done that before, and I've done workshops on forgiveness, and we all know that, and our egos say, all right, I already know that. But the workshop presenter talked about Ho'oponopono. Do you remember? It's been a long time, but the concept of my responsibility for whatever that is. No baseball bat, no, for the love of God, Jerry, how stupid can you be? Just the recognition that somehow, some way, in some form or fashion, I had something to do with that. Because if we come from resentment, if we come from blame, if we come from, well, it's their fault, then we can't do anything about it. But when we allow ourselves to look to see, somehow, some way, willingly or wittingly or unwittingly, I had something to do with that, and then we can let it go. So the book is Zero Limits by Joe Vitale, and he writes about Ho'oponopono. It is an ancient Hawaiian practice. And the belief is that it comes from Hawaiian error comes from thoughts that are tainted by painful memories from the past. So I committed to do what I did because growing up, I felt like I had to be the best little boy in the world so you would love me. And now, many years later, where in my life am I still saying yes when it doesn't make sense anymore? Where in our lives are we still living that belief about our not enoughness? I don't know if that's a word or not, but it is now, that we somehow have to do that or not do that or say no or say yes so that we'll be acceptable. But yeah, Jerry, that's where that came from. And so that was my part in it, rather than saying, no, let's come up with a different way to do this. So the story is Joe Vitale found this man, Dr. Hugh Len. He was a psychologist at Hawaiian State Hospital for 3 years. He never saw patients professionally. He never counseled with them. He agreed to review their files. And as he looked at the file, he would work on or clean himself. So what do I believe about this experience? What do I believe about this person? What do I believe about whatever's going on? And over time, patients who were diagnosed as criminally insane were having their medications reduced and their shackles removed. And ultimately, this hospital closed. They didn't need it anymore. And in the book he wrote, quoting Dr. Len, he said, I was simply cleansing the part of me that I shared with them. Total responsibility for your life includes everything in your life simply because it is in your life. So to change them, to change our experience of them, we must change ourselves. If you take complete responsibility for your life, then everything you see, hear, taste, touch, or in any way experience is your responsibility because it's in your life. You have two ways to live your life, from memory or from inspiration. Memories are old programs replaying. Inspiration is from the divine giving you a message. You want to come from inspiration. The only way to hear the divine and receive inspiration is to clean all memories. The only thing we have to do is clean. So rather than taking that memory, that story, that resentment, that, oh my God, what am I going to do about this, into the new year, there's the opportunity to keep walking through the valley of the shadow of death. So I went to this workshop and I came home, and the book didn't jump off because the book is probably 20 or more years old, and studied it, went through it, put it on the shelf many, many, many years ago. It didn't fall off the shelf for me, but you know how when we stop ruminating, I love that word. When we stop ruminating, when we stop in the ain't it awful, if we stop in the if they would just, then the still small voice again gets a word in edgewise and says, well, what if you did this? What if you recognized your part in this dance, in this experience? So I did. And I used the process. And the process is, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And you know what happened? It shifted. Better than I could have possibly imagined. Easier than I could have possibly imagined, but not until I recognized that my part in the dance, my part in the experience. So without guilt, without resentment, without, and those of you that have heard me speak before, you know sometimes that when my ego is talking to me, it starts with, for the love of God, Jerry. So none of that, no blame, just this is what happened, and we released it, we cleaned it, and now. And so I didn't even put a for sale sign on the condo in the Valley of the Shadow of Death. I left the rug. I just picked up what I absolutely had to carry with me and scrammed. Wow. So we move into 2026, not only without that experience, but also in the wow. I was out with the dog this morning. You know, I get amazing wisdom when I'm hanging out with Maggie. And I was reminded of the book by Anne Lamott, The 3 Essential Prayers, Help, Thanks, Wow. So this year, as I turn the calendar, literally and figuratively, into 2026, I'm in a place of wow. Look at how that turned out better than I could have imagined. Look at how that healed. Look at how that solution came to me when I allowed it to. Because as you well know, when we're in the, and again quoting Edwene Gaines, the yama, 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 you know, the ain't it awful, the oh for the love of God, we don't get to hear what we need to hear. And we're adding another, we're putting up another wall, we're adding another floor to our condo in the Valley of the Shadow of Death. But we're not stuck there. We're absolutely not stuck there. And as we get past it, we look back and say, wow. And if we did that, using the wisdom that came to us, then what other areas of our lives are we ready to lovingly release? Because as we know, it works. It works for parking places. It works for unexpected income. It works for people finding a job. It works for dogs. It works for everything. Because life always says, well, yeah. We're the ones that look at it and believe it's difficult. As soon as I shifted, as soon as I said, yes, this is my part, it shifted. So what are we taking with us into the new year? Believe it or not, next Sunday is the winter solstice, December 21st. I love this quote. You all know how much I love Facebook, and I found this on Facebook a few years ago. The winter solstice is not just seeking brightness after the longest night, but it is the darkness itself. A place of stillness and quiet, of reflection, meditation, and incubation. Don't rush into the light. Pause in the darkness and breathe. So as we ask ourselves, is this mine to still carry? Am I done beating myself up? Am I done blaming everybody else? Allow ourselves to be in the stillness. What is mine to do here? What is mine to lovingly release here? What am I done with? And we move into all the new joy and the new lusciousness and the new possibility of 2026. I love that quote. So we allow ourselves to be in this change because life around us is, nature around us is, everything is, and we get to be included in that and say, I've had enough of this, I'm done with this, and take our part in it and move forward. So with that in mind, join me in the light for just a minute. So in the peace and the quiet of this moment, we allow ourselves to be reminded of our oneness with the God presence with one another and with all of life. Because there is only one, we know that we see with the eyes of God. We feel with the heart of God. We know with the mind of God. And we give great thanks for this beloved spiritual community and for the opportunity to be together today. We give thanks for the reminder to look back on this year and be in the wow. Those, oh my goodness, experiences that we couldn't have imagined how we'd get through them, but we did. And quite possibly better and easier than we could have imagined. And as we move forward into the new year, we keep the hammer on the floor, recognizing we don't need to pick it up. We don't need to start and build another condo, but we stay in that conscious awareness of our oneness and allow ourselves to ask, seek, and knock. We remember in the Bible, what do I need to do? What must I change? What am I missing here? And allow Spirit to tell us what we need to know. We give thanks for this year with all of its joys and wonders and know that the best truly is yet to be. So for this day, for this beautiful season, for the opportunity to be together, for the technology that lets us do what we do, we give great thanks. And together we say, and so it is. Thanks, everybody.